To Your Eternity, Episode 1 left me more shattered than an anime girl after taking on 5 orcs. Before you even think about watching this video, please go watch the first episode in order for it to make its fully intended impact. With the second season right around the corner, I thought now would be a good time to talk about the first episode of Season 1 of To Your Eternity, and how it utterly just breaks your heart. What I didn't know when first watching it is that this series was created by the author of A Silent Voice, Yoshitoki Oima. Had I known that, I would have braced my heart for what was to come. For all intents and purposes, episode 1 follows an unnamed boy and a Reshi wolf who he calls John, left in the village with nothing but each other, surrounded completely by snow and ice. However, this wolf isn't the one he knows, as the original had died on top of a mysterious stone that had then taken his form and reunited with the boy. After spending 5 years waiting on the return of the rest of the villagers that had left to go find this so-called paradise, the boy finally decides to head out in search of both paradise and his family. Before they set out, he draws the faces of the entire village on the walls of his hut as a permanent reminder to himself and anyone that may stumble across it that people had once in fact lived there, and now the boy, alongside with Joan, set out. With an optimistic start to their journey, they find numerous signs that the villagers had left on their path leading the way. Even after many trials and tribulations, they continue on their journey, enduring whatever obstacle they face, in order to avoid fading away in that village. The boy's optimism remaining strong and unwavering until they come across what little remains of the villagers, and a sign that shows they never did make it to paradise. This breaks the boy. The hope and optimism now gone from his face, he falls to his knees, regretting ever having set out, never to discover the gut-wrenching truth had they stayed and waited. This is where Shitoki Oima expertly strips away everything from not only the boy, but also you, the audience. If you've seen any other anime, you know this would be the part where the main character truly begins his journey, where although tragedy strikes, we see the start of what he wants to accomplish, how he perseveres and makes it past his hardship, but this doesn't happen. With the hope and optimism now gone, they return back to the village, head low in defeat. A few days go by and we begin to see the state of the boy begin to deteriorate as the effects of blood loss and hypothermia begin to worsen. Eventually, using the last of his strength, he sits down in a chair to look his best in case anyone finds him. With Joan by his side, he asks him for one final request: to remember him forever, and with that, dies. Usually when any character dies within the first episode of a series, it's usually a side character, and the emotion it brings out more often than not is shock. Shock, not for the audience, but for the main characters. Take for example Attack on Titan and A Promised Neverland, where characters do die, but it's not the main ones. But it's to set the stakes and goals rather than to greatly impact the audience. However, what Oima does instead of that in order to invoke emotion from the audience, rather than the characters of the story, is to kill off the supposed main character who we believed we would follow on his journey, in turn revealing the real lead of the story being the entity that we know as Joan. Although death is tragic, the ending gives us some hope, in the fact that we may in fact die never having accomplished what we wanted, but so long as someone remains to remember us, we will continue to live on through their actions, their will, and their memories.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.